That's a hard panel to follow, guys.
Could have gone on.
Okay, I am a hyper specialist in spatial computing, gaming, and simulation, so that's what we're going to be talking about. I am going to keep it in the real world, but we're going to talk about AI and everything happening in that space. So let's go. See? I think many of us can agree that the next AI revolution won't happen in chat windows. It's going to happen in the physical world. Obviously, many of you guys are fixated in large language models and agentic AI, but I'm going to take you guys a little bit further when we talk about expanding computing into the physical world. How many of you have seen this slide before? GTC, some people, okay. I like showing this slide because it kind of sets the tone, because you've heard a lot of terms being thrown out here, right? Agentic, you've heard physical, world models, all sorts of things. This kind of level sets kind of where at least Jensen and where NVIDIA thinks this is going. I think most people agree. Generative AI, no longer necessarily the talk of the town, except for IPOs. Agentic AI is the darling of the moment. And then where we're heading is physical AI. You heard a lot about physical AI here on stage. I focus specifically in that agentic to physical AI moment. So LLMs, I love that we had a panel here on robotics, humanoid robots, and thinking through, who would you trust? Would you trust to have a robot in your house? If I ask you right now, if you can have a robot at home to fold your laundry, how many of you would raise your hands? Most people. Would you give that robot a knife? No. Would you have that robot take care of your newborn? No, right? Because it hallucinates. So a lot of what is happening right now is LLMs can predict the next word, but what we need with physical AI is AI that can predict the next action. And this is where a lot of this is slowly heading. For that physical AI moment that we're heading into, we need a completely new AI stack of sorts. It's going to need a body, we need an interface, we will have tons of new hardware. And here's what I'm here to tell you. The moat will no longer be in the models. All right, maybe some specific models, but the moat is moving away from models. We're going to have tons of hardware. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. And also, we're going to have a moment of data scarcity depending on the models that are needed to get us to that new physical AI moment. We're also going to talk about connectivity. So agentic AI, no tech conversation would be okay if I didn't mention agentic, because everyone wants to talk about agentic. I see agentic as the nervous system of where we're heading with physical AI. Agentic eventually will need a body, right? Whether it's a hologram, a humanoid robot, or something, it's going to need some type of body, and it's going to need some type of interface beyond just the chat window, right? I see that as the connective tissue, the nervous system that gets us into that next phase of physical AI. This is something that I love to show because I think most people are not even understanding kind of where this is headed. This is from my friends at Niantic Spatial. If you talk to anyone working in deep tech and in deep AI, we will all agree that in order to get to that next stage of AI, you need new models and new architectures. And some of these new models and architectures are foundational models, so world foundation models, and then also large geospatial models, which are the top there. Most people don't really think about large geospatial models. I am going to talk about that. But as you go up in this pyramid, there's more data scarcity. And this kind of explains, this is also from my friends at Niantic, that explains a little bit where the models are. This is a great slide to take a picture of if you want to better understand where the models are heading and who's doing what. So world models, show of hands, how many of you here know what a world model is? I mean, you've heard the terms, okay. All right, but pretty much, I'm not going to kind of dig into it 100%, but I will tell you it's about simulation. It's about simulating the next frame of reality. Right now, you have tons of capital slowly going into this area. So Dr. Fei Li, who many of you guys know, she's the godmother of AI. I'm known in tech circles as the godmother of the metaverse. I know it's not sexy to talk about the metaverse anymore, but I feel a certain sisterhood with her. She's working on this. You've got Yann LeCun, who used to run AI at Meta, now running his company. He raised, get this, most of you guys know this, but he raised $1.1 billion seed round. That's unheard of, right, in the age of AI. So a lot of money's flowing into world models because they can predict the next part of reality. It is about simulation. So most of what's happening with world models is creating simulation, and it'll be simulation in virtual spaces, also simulation in the physical world. So you've got a lot of agents. You might have seen a lot of work around agents doing different types of modeling and simulation. You also start to move from language to physics. That's why a lot of the money is going into physical AI, into world models, is because we're moving away from language to physics. See? And anyone that has kids recognizes this Roblox. We all work for Roblox. Roblox is actually entering the world models space. You've got Waymo also talking a lot about world models. And you also have the company Runway, which many of you know for video. They're also now a world model company. So geospatial AI, this might be the first time you guys ever hear about geospatial AI models, but this is a very important part in order to have those humanoid robots, autonomous vehicles, drones in large quantities, because it's going to allow creating that layer of AI that connects us to the physical world. So AI that understands language is powerful, but AI that understands place is transformative. Place in real time. There is something called the ground truth advantage. So a world model can predict plausible outcomes, what might happen in a street corner, but when you have real world data that actually tells you in real time what is happening, that gives you an even better outcome. And this is the type of data that is irreplaceable. And there's going to be a huge, and I tell you this, there's going to be a huge economic incentive towards more real world data. So for example, the information that Ryan might have from real estate or booking might have about the physical world, that they're sitting on a treasure trove of data. That leads us into spatial computing, where I spent the last decade. It's expanding computing into the physical world. And why are you starting to see spatial pop up everywhere? Because robots need to have spatial intelligence. They need to be able to understand the physics of the space. Whether you're a car, a robot, a hologram, a drone, you need to understand the physics of the space. Here's where we get into smart glasses. Is anyone here wearing like the Meta Ray-Bans? I see a couple people. I get asked this question all the time. Why in the world are all these companies rushing towards new wearables and new devices? It's because slowly we need to replace the mobile phone. And for several reasons, they want to replace the mobile phone. Because whoever owns the hardware has access to that real world data to train those newer models to get you to physical AI. Right? So whoever owns those wearables has access to that. And also, if you add to that wearables as the interface, and you add neurosymbolic AI that actually helps to reason, you can start to eliminate hallucination. The reason many of you guys would not give that robot a knife or have them take care of your newborn is because this technology still hallucinates. We need to get to a point where AI is actually getting everything right with extreme precision. And in order to do that, you need spatial computing, you need geospatial models, and you need world models and LLMs. So slowly, everything is going to start to move from the cloud to the edge. Right now, there is the connectivity does not exist for us to be able to power millions, if not billions, of devices all together. That is being built. The infrastructure is being built, but it's not here yet. I love that we had Peggy Johnson here. I actually spent some time with her in Doha at an event there, and had a chance to talk to her about humanoid robotics and the big rush that's moving towards humanoid robots. And this is not me. This is Jensen Huang saying humanoid robots are going to be the next consumer market. Just for show of hands, how many of you agree with that sentiment? All right, so there's a lot of skeptics. We'll have to see really what happens, but I do truly believe we're at a dawn of new hardware. And this is the big thing. Intelligence is slowly entering the physical world, and it is becoming spatial. So the spatial understanding that we have, that we gain as children, for example, you wouldn't put your 3-year-old in front of stairs and be like, hey, go at it, right? Slowly, children learn to go down the stairs and understand the physics. That's kind of where we're at right now with a lot of these robots and a lot of these devices, is they're starting to understand the physics of the space, right? So we're moving from language into understanding physics. And that's the only way we can actually get to physical AI. Holograms is also some of the work I've been doing for a long time. When we talk about agentic AI, like for example, when we were talking about talking to an agent about booking something for you, eventually you're going to want to see that agent. And that's going to come in the form of potentially a hologram or some device. Also, from a communication standpoint, we will stop eventually doing phone calls necessarily and start doing hologram calls, which is very sci-fi, but it's truly being worked on once we have the right connectivity. So the infrastructure is currently being built. The networks are being built to be able to power these systems. The interface is arriving. And this is not me trying to replace the mobile phone. This is everyone in Silicon Valley. For example, Apple is going to be bringing AirPods with cameras. Why are they doing that? Because once they have cameras, they can start to map the physical world, right? Google's back in the market with glasses as well. So the moat is moving from the models to the hardware. Why? Because that's how you get the training data for the newer models. So I truly do believe that the next advantage and where a lot of the opportunity is going to lie is in building for the physical world. Thank you.